All right. Sound is up and we're live.
We're live. We're live. Finally. We're a
Finally.
little late. Little late. A little bit late. Sorry guys, we're a little late tonight. It's you know, we have jobs, normal day jobs. We got stuff to do. And sometimes, gotta take care of business and whatnot, eat some food. Shout out to my lovely, amazing wife for making us some awesome food tonight. She is the best. I don't know what I would do without her. Thank you to Melissa for always feeding our asses. All right. So welcome guys. Welcome to another episode of Monday Night Monster Jam. It's crazy. We are on episode number 18.
Yep, 18.
18. Man, that's crazy. I got something to show you guys really quick just to start off the night. I did finish the first, for you, lucky giveaway people. I finished up. Now, these aren't sealed and the eyes aren't glossed and all that lovely stuff, but I did manage to wrap up a first set of magnets. I've casted. I'll put these here if you're gonna film. You're gonna film those. Let's put them like right here, maybe my dirty desk. Anyhow, they are. This is the first just paint master set here, which means that's just what I'm gonna copy for everybody. But you get a chance to see. I got glossy eyes and the teeth, but you get a chance to see what they look like. And, I can hold each one here. Pretty cool. We'll throw some magnets on there, sign the back of them, and we'll be ready to start shipping in the next week or so. Probably next week sometime, I think. I've casted 5 sets just to update you guys. I will get the other 5 sets done, and we'll get all 10 done, and I'll paint them all at once. Bingo. Giveaway done. Well, will be done. So thank you guys and congrats last week. And I've got all your emails for any of you guys watching. I did get your email. Sorry I didn't respond yet, but it came through and everything's good and we're solid. I've got all your shipping addresses and we're ready to rock. So that leads us to putting these away. And he's got the camera pointed. I'm going to put them away now though. Okay. You can point it on this white head. So that leads us to tonight's episode, which is a fun one. Something I am very passionate about for those that know me. And that is sculpting monster masks. That's probably my biggest passion, is sculpting masks. If I could make a living all day just sculpting monster masks, I would do it. How come I don't do that? I should do that. One day I'll do that. Anyway, I've loved masks since I was a kid. Since I was a little kid, I have memories that are still in my head as fresh as the day that I saw some of those masks. And funny enough, tonight, for Artist Share, Sam's going to adjust the camera so you see me better. Hello.
It's looking down on you.
Ooh.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's all right. Here I am.
You're good.
So for those of you that kind of know me or don't know me or whatever, I'm just going to talk a little background here about masks. I grew up in the 80s kid. I was born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s. Loved every moment of it. Cherished those times. But I grew up in probably one of the best timeline ever for horror movies, obviously, and the best time for mask making, because back in the 80s, kids and companies were not afraid to make bloody, gory, awesome, killer monster masks, and it wasn't a problem to wear them to school, and it wasn't a problem to do all this stuff, which all pretty much pisses me off today that it's a problem. I hate schools that don't allow this, and I get why, but I hate it. I loved being a kid and being able to go to my school and wear a mask and dress up and do all that. Now it's got to be all cutesy fartsy cutesy whatever, and that's all gone, and it bums me out every year at Halloween. But I still make masks every Halloween, and we're getting close. We're getting towards that October time frame, which I'm running a class for those of you that don't know, and I'm shaking the camera because I'm moving the table. So I have a monster mask painting class coming up. It's half filled. There, I believe, are 5 or 6 seats already filled. I think 5, maybe 6. So you better hurry if you're thinking about taking this class. It's an in-person painting class. I'm going to show lots of tips and tricks in this class on painting. You will walk away with a fully finished painted mask. It's going to be awesome. And what else is there to say about that? That's October 22nd. And if you'd like to sign up, you need to head to my in-person class page, which is on my website, caseylovemonsters.com. Don't do it now, because then you'll leave YouTube. And that doesn't work. Or you got to open up a new window and then do it that way. So, yeah, don't bail yet.
If they click, or not click, but if they look at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, they'll see the website link right there,
yeah.
the URL, caseylovemonsters.com.
See, that's why I got Sam, man. That's why I got him, because he's on it. So the bottom right-hand corner, there's the website. You just have to click. Once you get there, you click on in-person classes, and you can sign up. And it's awesome. You're going to get 10 colors for free, paint colors, 1-ounce bottles or 2-ounce bottles, I forget. But you get 10 color set of paints. You get a free mask, which is my take on classic Rick Baker design, the Funhouse Freak. It's some, I twisted it around my own way, but it's Funhouse Freak basically. So what better mask to paint for Halloween than that freaky thing, right? If you don't know what I'm talking about, well then look up Funhouse and watch that movie, because it's killer. If you haven't watched that movie, I just won't comment.
How should you comment about it?
Anyway, all right. So let's talk about Prey.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Prey a little bit. Okay, so my first initial reactions, there's a lot out there about it.
Review.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking we need to do a little bit of that.
Yeah, all right.
Now, the special effects were done by a good friend of mine, Alec Gillis, and his company ADI, Tom Woodruff too. And those guys are great. Those guys are fantastic. Every time I've worked there, I've had a bunch of fun. I worked on The Thing. In fact, I just updated some of my film page on my website. I'm sharing a lot of photos behind the scenes if you want to check them out. Again, do that later. But let's talk about Prey. I watched it. Cool. I love the different story, more story-esque, more, a little different thing. I love some of the stuff going on. Alec and the guys did some great work on it. But I had some issues with it. For sure. There were some dialogue acting issues I thought were not so great. Predator design. Sorry, I'm a fan of the first one. I mean, it's good. It's not bad. But that Predator, to me, and this has nothing to do with the design or anything, just seemed like they dropped off the dumbest Predator in the world. Like on that planet. Like, what was up with that dude? Like, he's getting taken out already by wild animals, which this is a thing that has a cloaking device. It's supposed to be hyper intelligent. How many times did it get hurt in the foot? How's it still walking around normally? Not even got a limp. Some bad stuff going on there. I loved, though, the idea of it being, Native American. I love that part. I love that it was all way back when, different time frame. Although I am sick and tired of Predator coming to Earth. Let's come up with something different. Come on. Like, how many times is he going to come to Earth and hunt things? That's, like, redundant at this point. I would say, I'll talk a little bit about an idea I've had for years with Predator, and I'm not a big, Predator nerd or anything. I love the first movie. Second movie's pretty good, too. I enjoyed that as a kid. I remember being blown away by how violent the second movie was. Just like, whoa, downtown LA and all the violence and the heat wave, which feels like today. Maybe predators are gonna come to Earth because it's getting all hot. Anyway, I would say that what am I saying? I just lost my train of thought.
What is it? The Predator was getting hurt a bunch, but it wasn't really showing the damage of it. Yeah.
The idea had.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
for years, I've had this idea about a Predator movie, which I would love to pitch to 20th Century Fox or somebody. So I don't want to give away too much. But let's just say this. The idea I have, and I'm not saying it's the most brilliant idea or anything like that. It's not. It's just an idea. It's just a thing I've come up with revolving around a Predator design that I did. I did a little mini bus that's you can still buy from me, available on my website. But it's revolves around a young Predator who's trying to become a king, and he goes on a specific hunt on his own home world. Okay? Not Earth, on his world, which revolves around a lot of creatures and weird and crazy critters and things that are super cool and interesting. Just not the average thing. One thing I loved about the last Predator movie, and I know a lot of people bashed on it, which was the what was it called? The
Which one was it?
what was that last Predator movie?
I think it was just called Predator.
Well, I worked on Predators.
Or The Predator.
The Predator? Was that it, guys?
Where
Maybe
they
someone
take
can
out-
chime
where
in.
They like capture humans and they drop off like 8 of them on a totally different planet.
No, that I worked on. I worked on
Okay.
Predators. I worked on that in 2009, and I worked on AVP II. But there was another Predator movie more recently with the big super Predator in it, and the dog. Had the dog Predator. I forget what that one was called.
Oh,
I don't know. Sorry, guys. I'm forgetting. If anyone knows, they can chime in. I'm sure someone's already chimed in. Anyway, with that movie, the one brilliant thing I thought they did was give the Predator a language, and then they just showed you what he was saying in English, but he talked in Predator language.
The Predator.
The
Shane
Predator.
Black one.
The Shane Black, yeah. The Predator.
According to Jason Giaconetti.
Yeah. I mean, the movie was really hard to watch, but I thought personally one of the brilliant moments in that movie was giving that Predator its own language, and it was kind of creepy, and it had its own dialogue. That was genius, because the story I'd come up with about Predator was it needed something like that, and I was trying to think like, well, how can I solve this problem, and that was it right there in front of me. It's like, wow, it was genius. So it's cool. I love that. The rest of the movie was but this new movie was much better in terms of just not following the normal patterns of things in a way, but I think it fell short in some ways, of course. I didn't really have a problem with the look so much. I know a lot of people have a problem with the face and the look. We're so used to just the normal look, but you got to try something different
I
every
kind
now
of
and
liked
again.
how new it looked.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, you can only bring back the classic design is classic because it's contained within that one specific thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like you can watch the first Predator movie, and it's like that is always going to be the design you associate
Yeah.
with. If they pull that design for 6 or 7 different movies, then it gets kind of muddy. It's like Jason masks. You can associate different Jason masks with different movies. But if the Jason masks look the same throughout all of them, it's hard to differentiate.
Yeah, and it's interesting because no matter what design you do, if it's any different than the original first 2 movies, or whatever else, it's going to be a little shocking to look at. But I think over time, people get used to it a little bit and give it some credit. I think ADI did a great job with the designs and trying to make something fresh and a little bit new. My big issue with it was just like that Predator was the dumbest Predator out of the whole freaking clan. It's like they dropped him off on purpose just to get rid of him. Because I mean, I get it. Like animals have senses higher than like a bear can smell for miles, 10 miles or whatever. So it sensed him. But he has a freaking cloaking device, man. I mean, if you want, he just got chewed up by a wolf, a bear. He got his ass kicked before he even got to the first human. It was just like, what is this guy, stupid? This predator's like the stupidest predator ever. That I had an issue with.
Are you into spoiler territory right now?
Oh shit.
That's okay.
Sorry guys. If I spoiled something, I'm so sorry.
No, okay.
I figure everyone that is a Super Predator fan has watched it by now, and maybe I should shut up.
Okay. You're okay.
Maybe I should shut up.
Mad Makes was saying that they're like, oh crap, I haven't seen that movie yet. So.
Oh god.
No.
Okay. No more spoilers.
He's got everything muted.
You know what? I didn't even think about spoilers. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm just assuming everyone on Earth has watched this movie, and that's bad on me. I apologize, guys. Holy moly. Okay.
You're okay.
So anyway, watch it. I say watch it. I mean, shoot, it's free on Hulu or whatever, and you know, it's a fun watch. I enjoyed it though. I don't want to bag on it too much. I enjoyed it. It was great. There were great moments. I just would love to see 20th Century Fox stop the nonsense of bringing Predator to Earth every single time. That it's so annoying. You know, stop. Do something. Take a risk, for crying out loud. Take a freaking risk.
It's funny you say that about the setting. I would think if they kept using that design of the Predator from the first movie, like throughout all the movies, you'd probably be saying that exact same thing about that design too. It's like, do something different. So tired of seeing that thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, just, you know, I should just send my script in as well, because at this point, I mean, who knows? I don't have nothing to lose. I mean, I just would love to see them do something more imaginative, and I think they took a big risk here, but I think they could take a bigger risk. And I think they could do something more interesting with the franchise to not just appease the fans, but just give fans what they truly want to see, which is, you know, they gave a taste of it in AVP II. They went to the Predator homeworld for a minute, and then that was it. And then he left and went to Earth, and then it just got really stupid. But I would love to see, and I worked on that movie, but I would love to see, you know, something on their homeworld. I cannot say what I have in mind for it, because then I'm just giving away all these ideas I have. So, but I have some written out ideas and basically a whole story behind that I think is really cool and would be exciting to do. So maybe that's what I need to do. Maybe I need to pitch something. I don't know.
It'd be cool to just see more of their culture, for sure.
Yeah. And let me just say, some of the ideas I have for it start way before they have any advancement of technology. So, yeah, interesting. Different things. All right, so enough Predator.
Alrighty.
Predator is like, you can talk about that as long as you can talk about aliens. I don't want to talk about aliens, because that gets just as wacky. Okay, so tonight we are sculpting masks, and I've been babbling far too long. I need to get into some clay. I need to put my hands in the clay and start slapping it on this head over here. So with that being said, I have something kind of in mind. It's risky to do a live stream on, because usually these types of things I need to really find the design and get into it, and sometimes it can take me, you know, let me just be honest with you guys. I'll sculpt something and I'll tear it all apart and sculpt it again, and then tear it all apart and sculpt it again, or change the heck out of it. I've changed clay designs 2 or 3 times before I land on that mask design, you know. And other times I can have, you know, like a whole colored image pop in my mind, and I can just go sculpt it, and it comes out just as I saw it, like almost like there's a picture in my mind, like a permanent photograph or something like that. So, but this particular design stems from my childhood. As a kid, I was very much scared. The only thing I can remember being really terrified and scared of as a kid was the boogeyman, because the boogeyman to me was many different things, and could be, I don't know, just was creeping me out as a kid. I always looked behind my back walking home alone. I was freaked out. Of course, let me remind you guys that in the 80s, the Night Stalker existed, and he walked right near our territory, you know, where we were living. I grew up in Temple City. He came I don't know, El Monte, or he came through there. So it was all over the news, and so that doesn't help. Huh. But even before him, I was just terrified of whatever this boogeyman thing was. What is the boogeyman? What is that? And every year for Halloween, I've attempted to do what I would call boogeyman masks. Now, boogedy is like a term you'll hear mask makers talk about. In fact, I talk about this term a lot in the past with friends, like my mask making buddies, Norman Cabrera, Jordu, and others. We talk about boogedy, make boogie masks, Steve Wang. It's just a fun term of like creepy. You can get away with anything, moly, warty, pitty, sinewy. That's boogedy, just creepy stuff, just stuff that's like makes you kind of So, but this mask design I have tonight, I just literally drew minutes before in Photoshop, minutes before this live stream, so I don't know that I captured this character 100% yet. So that's why I'm just forewarning you. I may not get it tonight. I'm gonna try. We'll see what comes out. So what it is when I was a kid, there was an older high school kid that lived halfway down the block from me that terrified the hell out of me. I don't know why. I think it's because he was always up in his window, second story. We live in these second story condos, and this kid kind of always creeped me out. There's something about him that just creeped me out. He just had this 70s hairstyle, and he just had this kind of creepy face, and he just was, you just didn't. He was a nice guy, I'm sure. But he creeped me the hell out, man. I'm just gonna be honest. And his name, it's kind of sad, but this is what inspires me right now. This guy's name was Eddie Cromwell, and I always thought Eddie Cromwell is such a creepy name. I don't know why. Cromwell.
Yeah, it sounds like
that's a weird.
It has that same like Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, it has that Krueger vibe. Sorry if there's a Cromwell watching, and we don't want to offend anyone. And I'm not trying to copy this kid's look or anything, but there's a vibe to his look that freaked me the hell out as a kid. And now I want to do a mask called Eddie Cromwell Comes Back. Sorry, Eddie. If you're ever watching this, I apologize. I know you're a nice guy, but you creep me the fuck out. So, that's where we're at. And that's the explanation. Oh, God. This is either going to be a great stream or a really dive bomber.
All right.
That, my friends, is a Reese's cup. Yummy. All right. And our choice of clay tonight is wet clay. Now, what is wet clay? Some of you may know. Some of you may not know. Wet clay is a water-based clay, which WED stands for Walter E. Disney. Ah. See? You're going to learn something.
I didn't know. Wow. Huh.
Uh-huh. And Walter E. Disney, at some point, or Disney, hooked up with Laguna, the clay manufacturer, Laguna Clay, what is it? Laguna something. I'm blanking. Laguna Clay. And helped design this clay for the theme park so they could have a clay that they could rough all this big pieces out and the clay wouldn't dry out too quickly. So the clay has like glycerin in it, basically, which slows the drying process. And that's why mask makers love it, because you could just sculpt and tweak and push and pull and move things around forever. And you can bag it, spray it, bag it, and you can get it to last for months if you had to make it last for months. But it's great because you can rough out things quickly. And I just so happen to have 25 pounds of it right here. So this is a 25-pound bag. Okay. It's about as long as I'm going to hold that because I already worked out today. I'm not going to do it a second time. I might pull something. When you get to be 47, you're going to pull some muscles. Just letting you young guys know. I think it's all good in games. You can lift those heavy mask molds in your 20s, and then your 30s is fine, and then all of a sudden you hit your 40s and you lift a mold and you're like, I pulled something. It sucks.
Personally, I can't wait.
You can't. You can't wait. Okay, I don't know what he's talking about. He's crazy.
Not me. I'm talking about me.
Oh. So yeah. Anyway, that's 25 pounds of lead. All right. So and then what? Okay. So what are we sculpting on for an armature? Now we are going to work on, because I'm going to keep this mask fairly small and fit, form fitted, type of deal. So I'm just working on a styrofoam wig form. Yes. And they're cheap, $5, $6 at, craft store. And, it has this hole underneath, which is perfect for one of these half-inch pipes, or is it half-inch pipe or something? And you just shove it down on there with a pipe flange screwed to a board. You're off to the races, and you've got your armature. You can just sculpt right on there and make a mask. You can go bigger than this or smaller, or whatever you want to do. It's just an easy, quick way. It's not the 100% preferred way. I mean, you could get yourself a nice bust. Monster Maker sells some great busts to use, a female and a male. Those are great. I use those too. Those are my favorite. But I typically use those when I'm doing like a whole mask, chest, neck, and all that nonsense. But this is just a half mask. So, and I picture this as just that. So I'm just going to use the foam, so you'll have to get over it. That's what I'm using. So anyway, and as you guys have seen, probably the deadly melting of the foam that I do with acetone. Yeah, I know it's not healthy. Do that if you do melt foam with acetone. I'm gonna say right now, do that outside. Don't do it indoors. Wear a respirator. It's nasty. It works great though. Super great. And yes, you can do one-piece molds. I've had everybody ask me, oh my God, can you do one-piece molds? Yeah, you can do one-piece molds. Just make sure you can leave an opening you can get in to clean everything out. I mean, don't do crazy ear designs and crazy hook noses and stuff. I mean, you got to keep your design simple, but you can do it. All right, so I'm going to move this actually up here. Blah. All right. First thing I do is yank this bag down, exposing our lead clay. I've got here some wire cutters. No. All right. And, you can just cut through your clay like this. Bing. And then you've got yourself a nice slab of clay, right? And, if you look at lead clay, you can see just how creamy and pliable and easy it is to work with. You don't have to heat it up in an oven and wait for it to get hot or any of that. You just grab and go. Now, the one downfall to lead clay, if there is one, is when a lot of crumbs will drop onto your table. They'll dry up, and that stuff is not good, because when lead clay is in a dry form, it becomes dusty. And when it becomes dusty, dust rises in the air, you breathe it, and unfortunately, it has some things in it that cause cancer, because the dust is in your lungs. So keep your area where the dust is, wet it with water, spray it, spritz it, wipe it up. Try not to have too much dust around. A lot of shops, special effects shops that use this clay, they will use clean sweep, put it on the floor to keep the dust levels down. And that's the trick. So, just letting you know. Safety warning. Okay? All right. So, here we go. First thing I'm going to do is just shove clay on this bust. Because what I want to do very quickly is just get a nice layer. Just get a layer everywhere that I need it. and then I'll worry about where everything lands and forms. Eyes. Sometimes I'll just make sure to mark where the eyes roughly are if I'm going to go off of those eyes. But otherwise, I will just get a layer of clay onto this bust. And the good thing about the foam, funny enough, is the clay really sticks well to the foam. Surprisingly, wet clay will stick right to it really well. So you don't have to worry about spraying it or anything like that. Okay. Now I'm going to try to apply an even... Hey Sam, is it going to bother that this is shaking too much or no? Okay. Sorry guys, just wondering. So I'm not going to worry. Yeah, that thing is... Yeah.
It's usually connected to that.
That's what it is. Oh my gosh, my fault. Sorry if there's a little shaky cam tonight, guys. So anyway, what I was saying is I will usually just rough this out and get some clay on there. Now I'm like thinking to myself, like, you idiot. You just gave away Predator Prey spoilers. I try not to ever be that guy. I don't write reviews on my Facebook. I don't write reviews about movies. I never talk about them much, but I just had to get that off my chest. So I apologize if I spoiled anything for you guys out there. I'm so sorry.
It's fine too. I mean, what? Oh, the Predator violence happens in a Predator movie. Yeah, man. I did not see that coming.
Well, just I announced some major things. I apologize. Bad on me. Shouldn't be that dude. Oh well.
We have a small question from Chris Dawson about.
Heck no, Chris. What are you? I'm not even like roughed out, man. No.
Well, he's wondering if you're planning on making this one wearable.
Oh, good question. Typically when I do this sort of thing, I do try to make them wearable, but mostly try to fit my head size, not everybody else's head size. But this is one that I need to try to make wearable for everybody. Yes. Yeah. So the answer is yes. I'm gonna try to make it wearable, and I do picture it as having like a 70s wig or something, which that's the tricky part. I don't know how I'm gonna pull that off, but it needs that, like, how like in the 70s, people, mainly guys, and girls, they had that 70s, I don't know what you call that hairstyle, but like feathered and layered, thing.
Oh, feathered, yeah.
Feathered,
the
layered.
Farrah Fawcett hairdo.
Yeah, but kind of like long, sort of long. That's kind of what this kid looked like. So yeah, Farrah Fawcett. So something, but not too long. Just like not even shoulder length. I mean, just like neck length long. Yeah. And so yeah, I'm trying to figure out how I would pull that off, because this is something I would want to sell as a wearable mask, and I would want to put it out for a reasonable price, not the crazy high-end expensive mask price. I plan on doing some masks in the future here that are affordable, wearable, affordable, type masks. So I have to be cautious about that. But one thing you can see is I am applying clay pretty much evenly all over this bust, like an even thickness, just to get started. This is nothing. This is not me getting the design or anything like that. It's just throwing clay on at this point quickly. Well, slow. I'm kind of being slow, but I'm trying to be a little methodical about the thickness and thinking out the design. So again, we'll see if I can even get this design tonight, because there's a specific in my head, I have this kid's image. Sorry, Eddie. I have this kid's image, man, but he used to be up in his window just staring out all the time. It creeped me out, man. I was like, what is he? I think he was always working out or something. I don't know. I don't know what he was doing. Creeping me out, man.
One of those kids plotting how he would go house to house in the neighborhood one night.
Yeah, you didn't mess with this kid either. You just, and he wasn't a kid. He was at the time I was a kid, he was like, he was in high school, probably graduating or a sophomore or senior or something like that. But, I was always creeped out by him. Shouldn't have been up in your window creeping me out, bro. I grew up in an interesting little area of Temple City, California. If any of you guys know where that is, near south of Arcadia, California, not too far from Pasadena. And I lived in this little thing called this area called Village Circle Drive, and it was awesome because it was like cut off from the major streets outside, so it was safe in a way. And we always played ditch 'em, which is basically a version of hide and seek. And if you play ditch 'em, give a shout out. Let us know. Maybe we should hook this camera up to something else. They keep looking at it like shaking, and I'm wondering if I'm driving people crazy.
No, it's okay.
It's not going out of focus, right?
No,
okay.
No, because you're on the stream. Your actual camera is in the lower left corner. It's much smaller.
Oh, so we're on this one.
Yeah,
perfect.
They're seeing
we should probably stay on this one mostly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
I'm staying on it.
Awesome. Thanks, dude. Again, that's why I have Sam, man. On it. All right, so I'm all worried, and he's already on it. So yeah. Anyway, I grew up there. Sam, where did you grow up? If you don't mind saying.
I was born in Redlands.
Redlands.
And I kind of moved around a bit in that area, like Riverside, North Hollywood, West Hollywood, a little bit of San Fernando. But I grew up mainly in Ventura. Like, I think from the time I was age 8 until pretty much now, I lived in Ventura.
Oh, okay, cool. Shoot, so you're mainly from Ventura.
Mm-hmm.
Redlands, though, you started.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so as I was saying, and so I lived in this little area that was sort of not cut off, but it was this inset. How do I say inset condominiums? With lots of kids and families, and I think it was because it was inset away from the street. You had to go in. There was only 2 entrances to this place, and then it kind of winded around. In the middle was a pool, and not too long ago I went by to visit my old house there because I have so many memories, great memories from that house. But anyway. Yeah, so it was fun to be in that area, and I have some amazing Halloween memories in there, man. We would every Halloween, people would set their house. I mean, everyone decorated and set up, and I remember this older gentleman would dress up as Frankenstein and sit in a chair in front of the door, and he wouldn't move, and then you'd go up to get candy, and then you'd just stand up and you just as a little kid you would just literally poop your pants basically and scream and run while my dad's standing there laughing. And back then people weren't or at least I wasn't aware of, let me put it that way, that people weren't really afraid to scare kids, like it was all right, it wasn't a big deal. Nowadays it's like different. And I used to go to the Arcadia Mall. If you don't know where that is, it's famous for the Santa Anita racetrack. It's not called the Arcadia Mall anymore, but they had the Santa Anita racetrack there where they race the horses. And it was only 8 miles south of that, and Temple City, and I would.
Is that up near Pasadena?
Past it, yeah.
Past it,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's where I grew up, basically. And we'd skateboard up there and with friends and hang out. But anyway, at this mall, there were these around soccer season and Halloween season. There were these stores like Hallmark and Spencer's, and they hung all these masks up everywhere, and had all these display masks and crazy freaking cool 80s distortions, and Be Something Studios and Don Post, and I remember clearly all the Star Wars masks coming out. So anyway, I got to see all that stuff as a little kid. I'm talking like I was 6 to 8 years old, in that range, and I was just always so intrigued by it. But I was pretty naive as a kid. I didn't know that some sculptors sculpted these things and made them. Nobody told me any of that. I didn't know. I just saw these cool masks and was like, oh my god, I want that. I want those. I want the I want the drippy one. I want the bloody one. I want the big T. I didn't even know the names of these things.
Eyes, eyeball,
yeah. So, as you can imagine, it had this massive influence and impact on me at that age, and so that's stuck with me till today. I mean, I still have those memories like they were yesterday. So, yeah, and here we are, and here I am sculpting a mask. So that's my love for, basically where my love for mask making comes from. That's the earliest influences for me, other than Ray Harryhausen movies, monster movies and stuff and such like that, and which to me that stuff's more fantasy based, but still cool because it had monsters in it. King Kong and all that. I loved all that stuff as a kid. I remember every Thanksgiving I would watch, I think it was Family Film Festival, and it had I forget the host's name, but he would, for Thanksgiving, he would play like Mad Monster Party, and oh my god, watch the Twilight Zone all day long.
Yeah.
Remember Sunday Film Festival?
Yeah.
He used to play Popeye all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
I definitely remember Popeye.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, right? I'm blowing your mind right now. No, but he used to play Mad Monster Party, or Mad Monster Party. He would play that, and that was awesome. It was all animation, Boris Karloff voicing, and he had a big King Kong at the end. All this animation stuff. I used to be really inspired by animation stuff when I was a kid. I thought that's what I wanted to do, but come to find out, it was like, nope, masks. Anyway, all right, so the whole premise tonight is masks and monsters and all that. So I'm going to try to find in this design, if I can, and again, I might tweak the hell out of this for hours off camera at some point. So, but tonight I'm just demoing the starting process, laying the clay down, trying to find a design, and the design I'm trying to find, which is just based on a little sketch I'm looking at over here, which I'll try to show you guys later. It's nothing special. It's just an idea. It's just more of a vibe of what I remember of this kid, this older kid that freaked me out. And I was gonna say, so also where I grew up, in this neighborhood, just right next to my house, or 2 houses over, in the middle of the street, I'll never forget this. There was this strange giant footprint in the cement, in the concrete of the street, which was always so weird. So of course you can imagine all the kids made things up, like, oh, it's Bigfoot's footprint, oh, that's the boogeyman, oh, that's this, that's that. I don't know what it was doing there, but there was this weird footprint shape in the concrete, And it was there for years. I mean, it's not there anymore, but it was there for years. It was right near my house. Freaked me out. I was always like, oh my God, that's the boogeyman's footprint or something, you know? I truly thought the boogeyman was real. And mind you, this is like before Freddy Krueger and all that stuff. Because I wasn't, you know, seeing that yet. Anyway, so. Alright, so I'm just roughing this out. You know, now I've got like kind of a basic layer of clay on there. You know, not even half an inch. I think what I'll do actually is just to be on the safe side is I'll go a little bigger because that's not really big enough for a wearable mask. You're going to want to, you know, styrofoam heads are pretty small, so you're going to want to build up a bit. I would say at least inch thick or so. Try to get there.
Spooky Thread says it was Eddie's footprint.
Yeah. It was Eddie's footprint. Yeah. Yeah, it's just weird. And what's so strange to think about is like, all right, so obviously when they poured that road, that cement road, you know, who's the knucklehead that put this giant footprint there and got away with it? I don't know. It's crazy. It's weird. It's so strange. But it was a weird print too. It looked like a Bigfoot print kind of thing. You know, someone thought they were a wise guy. But yeah, clearly back in those days, you know, I would stay out as a younger kid. I would stay out till 9, 10 at night, no problem. It was a safer time back then, obviously. And you know, we would play this ditch 'em game. I'd play with friends and all the friends in the neighborhood there. And then, you know, I would walk home at night by myself, just like every 10 feet, looking behind me, you know, start walking faster. Like, the boogeyman. I was just freaked out by that. That's the thing that freaked me out. So I love to see takes on that stuff. Unfortunately, the boogeyman movies suck. So I don't know what to say there. You know, there's been a few and none of them have been really good. So another script and movie I need to come up with. I don't have much desire to do film though, to do my own films yet. Anyway, I don't. It seems like a tremendous amount of work and time and just my God, and headache and.
What sucks too is you don't realize how much work it is until you're like maybe a quarter of the way through, and it's like
you're knee deep.
You feel like you just did it, like you're done with it, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm only a quarter of the way through.
Yeah.
A quarter of the way through. Oh gee, and yeah.
Yeah.
I used to freelance and do like work on set on independent films when I was still in school, and I think. Maybe less than a fifth of the films that I worked on like ever saw the light of day in any sense. Most of them either died in production or they just got to a point where money ran out, or most often it was just passion. People just ran out of steam. They're like, I'm done with this. I'm walking away from this. And it's really hard being a filmmaker for sure.
Yeah. You know, anyone that's gone down that road, I mean, my hat goes off to them because I know it's not easy. And I don't know, but it's not something I, at this point, desire to do myself, that's for sure. I've seen all these Kickstarters and, you know, I don't know of many of them where people actually made any money or really killed it with a film, and just doesn't, I don't know. But hey, you know, to each their own. You got to do what you got to do. If you have a passion for it, you got to do it. I totally understand that, but definitely not my cup of tea at this point in time. Now, starting a mask company? That I could see doing. That I could see. That's almost inevitable at some point. Wearable masks. Affordable masks. Cool looking masks. You know? Yeah, I'm just laying clay. I'm not doing anything crazy here yet or special with this. This is just building up some form. I find when I take my time and I don't rush myself, and it may seem like I'm just running in circles here a little bit, but I find when I take my time, I do a better job of figuring out things. You know, like rushing through it for no reason just doesn't work for me, and I don't like that. Just being all, let me slam the clay on there. I like to kind of find it as I go. So. Now, the one trick to this design that is hard for me, or kind of hard to figure out, is my drawing looks kind of like a zombie thing, and he's not really a zombie as much as he needs to be scary and weird and freaky and boogeyman-ish. So it's going to be tricky because I don't want it to feel just like something out of Walking Dead, you know? Like that's not the idea. So, but there are some things in his skin that can end up looking zombie-ish if I'm not careful. So my drawing looks kind of zombie-ish. I'm not going to lie. So that I don't like. But I have to find ways to give it the right look without going there. You know what I mean? So we'll see. Eddie Cromwell. Comes back. I have a bunch of mask designs, like ideas too, for this supposed mask company I want to start. I'm not gonna say too much about what they are because I don't want to give away any ideas.
Patent pending, patent pending, patent pending.
Well, and the thing is, the Halloween industry is such a rip-off industry. Like, the minute you come out with anything cool, next year everyone's ripping you off. So
next year it's in Spirit Halloween.
Yeah, next year there's a rip-off of it. And oh, let me tell a story, by the way. That leads to a great story regarding the rip-off thing and all that, which is pretty interesting.
Drama. Yes.
Yes, this is a good one. I'm gonna tell you guys this everything I'm gonna say is 100% true. No BS, no embellishing. This is what happened, and it was a learning lesson for me. You know, it was good. Not that I didn't do anything wrong. It's just I learned from this. So back in around 2000, 2001, something in there, I think. Maybe 2000, yeah, 2000, 2001, maybe 2 max, somewhere in there. That's to me, that's so long ago now, I don't remember everything, dates and timelines. But okay, so back in that, roughly that era, the 2000s, there was a show called the Halloween Trans World, the Halloween trade show. It's still around today. It's a expo. It's where you go to if you're a seller of Halloween products, masks and party stuff and all that. You go to this show and it's a wholesale show. You sell to vendors, mom and pop shops, and Spirit Halloween and all these big shops. This is where you go to show your products and take orders. Which some of you guys may have seen the Distortions TV show that used to be on History Channel or whatever. They would go to this show all the time. Anyway, so I went to this show once, and I didn't go there as a vendor selling mass production. I actually went there as just a artist, mask maker, selling higher end products, like not making a bunch of them, just making a few of them, which is not really why you go to this show. But I knew that some collectors had ventured to this show, and I stood a chance, a possibility of actually selling some masks, which did happen. So I went there, and let's back up a bit. I'm going to back up for a minute here. Bear with me. Several months before going to the show, I was contacted by email from a company who I can't remember who they are, their name or anything. I have no idea. This was so long ago. And it was funny because they contacted me because of a design I had shown on the internet. And back then, remember, there was no social media. Social media didn't exist. To showcase your art and your designs, you had to belong to some of these private communities, and I happened to belong to some of these communities where I would show masks and some of what I was doing, and my work. And so back in that day, like it was that long ago, and back in my day. So these guys contacted me. I don't remember who they were. So they contacted me and said, "Hey, we love this design you've done. We would love to buy the rights to it, to own it." And I said, "Okay, that would be." And of course, I was, didn't know what I was doing. I was a brand new artist, basically, new artist, few years old. But they love this design. They're like, "Hey, we want to use this for our Halloween prop thing. The head, like add it to a body." And I said, "Oh, cool, great. Okay, well, that'll cost you this much money." And I'm thinking, "Oh my God, that's like amazing. That's so much money if I could get this." I think it was like $1,200. And I thought, "Oh my God, if I could sell them this thing for $1,200, I'll be loaded." Right. And that was too much money for them, right? They were like, "Oh, we were thinking, $600. I'm like, no. Sorry, that's too cheap. I'm not going to sell you the design for $600. Sorry. And then that was it. There was no discussion further. It was just that was game over, and they didn't want to spend $1,200 for the design. Okay, no problem. All right, now moving forward, I decide to do this show. I put all my money together, and it was expensive to rent this booth. It was like $2,000 to rent this booth that I was barely going to fill with 10 masks or something, but I did it. And so I'm setting up. It's the day of setup at this show, and I'm setting up my table, and I've got all my masks there and everything, and I'm like, "Ooh, I made it, great." And I'm set up in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I'm set up where all the booths around me, they're screwing stuff together, and they're in full setup production, setting up these giant booths of products, and I've just got these line of masks. I'm set up in 5 minutes, right? And I'm just like, and I'm already feeling out of place. Anyway, right next to me, there's a booth setting up, and all of a sudden, I look down on the ground, and there's this creature laying there, and the head of the creature, they unbag it, it's bagged, they unbag it, unwrap it. And the head of the creature, I'm standing on the corner of my booth looking at it huh, that looks familiar. And I go a little closer, and I realize these are the guys that contacted me to buy the rights to my mask design, which is on display in my booth, which was this weird spider creature. And they have a copy, almost an exact copy of that head on their creature. So I kind of do around the corner introduction, "Hey, how's it going, guys? How are you? Where'd you get that? If you don't mind me asking, where'd you get that design from on that spider there?"
Oh, jeez.
And the guy looks and does this around the corner and sees all my masks, and he sees the spider, and he goes, "Oh crap, you're not Casey Love, are you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." "Are you so and so?" Busted.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Is that really what he says? Like, oh crap.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
geez.
he did.
Way to implicate yourself in the get.
Yeah, and that was my introduction of Transworld. And then, funny enough, every person that came by my table was like, prepare to get ripped off because all your masks are going to be ripped off and on display next year by all these companies. And I was like, oh God.
Great.
Anyway, that's Transworld for you though. People see cool stuff and they want to copy it. I get it, but it sucks. This is the way it is. Anyway, that was a funny story, and I learned from that experience. I was nice enough not to ask them to take it down. I could have been a jerk. I could have gone to Transworld and bitched and complained that, hey, these guys ripped me off. I could have done the whole 9 yards on them, and they couldn't have been able to show their piece, and probably would be asked to take it down. But I didn't bother. I was nice enough to just let it go, but it did bother the hell out of me. I was pretty pissed off back then, but whatever, that's that. All right, so let's try to find this guy in here now that I've got some clay on here. Let's see what we can do. I'm just going to start trying things because if I don't, I'll just sit here and run in circles on you guys. And it'll be a demo of nothing, really. Get some eyebrows in there. Remember your anatomy, when you're sculpting. Try to, even if you're doing monsters and stuff, I know, I get it. You're, don't do I'm making monsters. I could get away with anything. Sure, you can, and have your imagination run wild. But also remember that you need to have some sense of realism and form. Don't just, this is for you newer mask sculptors. Don't just try to do something that's outlandishly ridiculous and has no rhyme or reason or some sense of structure. Think about a couple things, and I always say the best mask makers really focus on these things, which is character development, anatomy, character, and anatomy does fall under form. Form and anatomy to me are the same ideas. Anatomy is form. So think of your anatomy, think of your forms, and think about getting a character out of your sculpting, and then think about also your imagination. So try to combine those three solidly into your work to get the best out of it. Now, if you're sitting here tonight going, "Oh, this is not ZBrush," no, it's not ZBrush.
It's all by hand, baby.
This is clay, man. This is clay. This is how. This is the roots, man. Clay, and this is water-based clay. You can see how easily I'm pushing it around and messing around with it, so you can tweak it into whatever you want. Let's build this mouth out a little bit more. So it's hard because I have this image in my mind of what this guy kind of looked like, and I wasn't quite able to capture it in my drawing yet. Struggling with. Funny enough, when I thought of this design, last year, I kind of thought about this design last year a bit, and I had I remember having a much stronger visual of him, and for some reason tonight, I'm not making excuses, I just honestly don't, it's not flowing in my brain the way it was. I'm trying to remember him a bit, because it would help, Not that I'm going to make this look exactly like him. I'm not trying to insult him or anything. Sorry, Eddie Cromwell. You look like you're a monster, dude. You scared the hell out of me. You're bad. don't be a creepy teenager, man, up in your window, creeping everyone out. No, it's not like he was up there, like, you know, purposely creeping out, but he kind of freaked me out. I think maybe because I think he worked out and he was kind of buff and kind of teenager, pimply, and had this shaggy hair. He just kind of freaked me out. I don't know. So, not that any of that sounds freaky. It's like, oh, that sounds like every teenager. No, but you know, he had a look and a sense to him. You know, you didn't mess with Eddie. Eddie will mess you up.
Hillbilly 556 says they're getting an emaciated Tom Cruise from Interview kind of vibe from it right now.
It's almost that is almost
what he looked like.
Yeah, and my drawing here, funny enough, started to have this. I think because of the nose, started to, at one point tonight to almost have this Tom Cruise, and I was like, no, don't go that road because I don't want it to be mistaken as Interview with a Vampire. But he's not far off track in a way. Like the whole trick to this design really is going to be capturing a creepy face. Sort of. Now I'm not trying to capture him as a teenager either. I'm trying to capture him as, because remember, it's Eddie Cromwell comes back. So this is like capturing him as an adult later on. So I got to remember what he looked like and then age him in my mind into this boogeyman. Yeah, it's not even just capturing the teenage kid. It's capturing, you know, this kid later on in life, like when he became a janitor and was like, you know, or whatever he became, a mall cleanup guy, and you know, because those are all the creepy jobs. I don't know. I'm probably gonna offend somebody tonight. I have a funny feeling, but anyway, whatever. Let's give him some high cheekbones because you know I do remember he had these high cheekbones. You know, he was a skinnier, muscular kid, and he had that creepy cheekbony sunken.
Here you go. Jay Python says, somewhere Eddie Cromwell is telling stories of little Caseylove creeping him out by staring up at his bedroom window all the time. Like, who's this little kid?
That happened. That actually happened a lot. As I would go by his house, I couldn't help it. I had to look up there. I just had to be like,
still there?
And then when I saw him, you know, and just skateboard on by or quickly leave. Yeah. No, it happened. Listen, he was really, in a funny way, I do remember he was a pretty nice kid. He would talk to us and stuff, but he creeped me out, man. I can't tell you anything other than that. He just creeped me out at times. So this is what he gets. This is his payback. Your payback, man. Freaking me out. I'm gonna sculpt you and make you all creepy. Boogeyman. Freaking boogeyman. Don't be getting all boogity on me. Alright, anyway. Plus, what a great name for a mask. Cromwell? I mean, come on. Cromwell. That's the Cromwell mask. That's the Cromwell. It's not often I come up with good names for masks. Usually they're kind of stupid, but, you know, or silly. But this one's good. Like, well, I'm not going to mention. Bagging on myself. Oh, I'm not going to mention my own silly mask names. Funny enough, let's talk about mask names because there's an interesting thing to mask names. And I remember Rick Baker telling me this actually. Rick said, "Hey, you know that name, Casey. That name is too long. It's got to be simple and you know it's got to be simple and quick and easy and you know this yeah." And he's right. You know, and other mask makers will tell you just got to have a simple name. You know, the simple and effective name, you know, to masks, you know. They're the best. And you can't have anything that's, you know, like obviously I'm going to call this Eddie Cromwell Comes Back. That's a long-ass name. But I'll just call it the Cromwell. and I'll, you know, put on the mask tag, the whole thing, but it'll be called the Cromwell. You guys want to hear some other mask names I have? But you can't steal them from me. Sorry, they're mine. I can give some other names out of some mask ideas I'm doing. Oh boy. Why you guys show me that, man? Now I'm freaking out.
We go a little longer night too. We did start 10 minutes late.
Yeah, ask my wife that. She's like, nope. I'll save my mask ideas, the designs. Because if I give them away, then I'm just asking for someone to jack them. Shouldn't have mentioned that. Okay, so let's, because we are running late tonight, so I'm going to try to just shut up a little bit and focus here. Should have grabbed some eyes to throw in here. So I am focusing on forms just being somewhat, you know, realistic in a way here. I'm not going to try to push anything crazy at the moment. You know, make sure too, you know, with your anatomy, if I turn this to the side, you clearly see forehead and then the brow, and then it sinks in, and then your nose starts. Don't just run your nose bridge right up the brow and not have this like this. You know, pay attention to anatomy. There's reasons why things are the way they are. Like the brow. You know, when you start out as a sculptor, a lot of common mistakes are just to run the bridge of the nose straight into the brow, like as if there is no brow ridge. You want the brow ridge in there, you know. So just pay attention to, look at a human skull, look at anatomy, look at people, study it, and the more you study it, the more you'll grab that. You know, cheekbones, things like that. I always find that even being cautious, I still have to get into some refinement zone where you know, I push the forms and then pull them back quite a bit, you know, because they're overly exaggerated at times, which is fine. You should over exaggerate them and then pull them back, because then you're pushing it a bit. Whereas like if you under exaggerate your forms, you have nothing to pull back on because they're not exaggerated enough. And you know, your mask, you want it to read. When you stand back and look at it, it should read. The character should read and be there and be strong and look interesting. So that's another thing to think about. Okay, I'm going to start sort of working cheekbone, ridges, running back to the ear here. My ear's a little low too, by the way, so just push it up a little bit. See, that's the great thing about wet clay. You know, if this was hard oil-based clay or something, I wouldn't so easily be able to just yank the ear up. So your ear, you want to kind of the top of the brow here. I'm still a little low, and then say the bottom of the nose should, so the ear should really fall almost in there. Now, it's not to say that when we get older, the ear, you know, can. And by the way, that was me following the foam bust, so don't follow that because it's very much wrong. So now I need to move the ear up a little bit to be in a proper location, or a better location. So if we look at it straight on, you'll see now this ear up here and this ear down here. So again, I can just kind of the top of the brow, run a line, bottom of the nose, kind of run my line, and I'll see that my ear, and by the way, if you want to now match up where this ear starts, you can run another line this way, right? And make sure that your ears both start at the same place too. But I know they do because I was following the form underneath. So I don't have to worry about that too much. But what I do have to do is get this ear up a little bit, which will help my jawline as well. Okay. So this is probably something, because you know it's going to be tough to pull off in 2 hours with me chatting and all this stuff. So I'd say this will end up being a this week and next week sculpture demo.
Oh, cool.
If that's cool with you guys. Because I want some time to look at it, think about it. So tonight's just like roughing it out, getting it going. And then next Monday we'll continue with Eddie and get him going on. Not Eddie Quist, Eddie Cromwell. My brothers are watching this. They're going to be like, oh my God, Eddie Cromwell. I remember that dude. They went to school with him, so they'll definitely know who I'm talking about.
Must be like, that dude was a freak.
Yeah. There was another really mean kid right next door to him that was always picking on me and my friends too. I'm not going to mention that though. What are you going to do? He didn't have the best life, you know. Okay, so I'm working on all these forms and brows. I think I can bridge this nose a bit more. I'm gonna try to keep in mind he's like older now. What's he look like? Let's start putting some nostrils. Now I do have his nostrils kind of rotted away, and that's probably where things get a little zombie-ish, and his lips. But I do have to kind of, I don't know that I'm going to be able to get away from the fact that this is going to slightly resemble a zombie in a way or not. I got to figure that out, but I'll try to not let it, because that's not the idea. The idea is not. But I guess if it's a boogeyman and it's sort of ghostly, I guess that's the thing here. Like, to me, a boogeyman can be almost a ghostly manifested thing that comes for you and can take, almost like it can take shapes and forms or change itself or something. Maybe, I don't know, who knows, but it can be anything. I remember, like, as a kid thinking, oh my God, the boogeyman could be this big furry hairy monster. It could also be this creepy dude, and and some artists have pulled off some masks and designs that I really love, that I was, when I saw them, I was like, oh my God, that could be that boogeyman. So anyway, I do see him being a very pitted face and creepy, sunken cheeks, like the Night Stalker. Meets, like, what were they saying? Tom Cruise and
Tom Cruise in Interview with a Vampire.
Yeah, sort of that sunken cheek sort of thing.
Like deep inset eyes kind of thing? Or...
Yeah, yep. Which, I'm going to push these in a little to get it spookier. Because when I insert these eyes, we definitely want them sunken. At some point, I'm just going to have to almost go for it. But I do like taking my time to try to find it, like, I think that's smart. If you rush it too fast, unless you have a really strong visual in your head, then you can do that. I've had that, like when I created my mask called the Swine, that thing just popped in my head and I sculpted it, and that was that. And what was put into latex is exactly what was in my head. But in this case, it's like a memory from when I was a kid. So I'm trying to remember this vague person and the creepiness behind it. stop here in a minute for artist share. We'll do a quick artist share. Okay. I think I should start putting some nasal skin in here. Build this up a little bit just to help some of this out. So you'll see, I'll just roll worms of clay and then stick them on and look at it, see if I like it. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, you can see this giant mess of clay all over me. And we have all these dried up crumbs, which is where the dust can come in and get all, you know, not good for you to breathe, like I was talking about. So just, you know, wipe up and clean up when you're gonna pause, or every once in a while it's good to do this anyway, just to keep the dust down. This clay can get rather dusty, and then you don't realize you're breathing the clay dust, which is not good for your body. So, in case you didn't know that, if you don't believe me, which I know you do, go ahead and read the side of the wet clay box and see what it says.
It's like reading a short horror story.
Yeah.
That's happening to me? What?
And I'm gonna, real quickly, I'm just gonna add some clay to the back here, just to pull the head back a little bit further. This is like gonna be more of a 3/4 mask than a half mask. And the only reason being is because we're gonna want to have something to attach hair or a hood or something to it. I don't know about a hood, but definitely some hair. Probably just get cheap wigs to attach to this thing, you know, something. I don't know if I could find a 70s style wig, but definitely not going to be punching hair or anything crazy in this. So we'll do what we can do. But I definitely want to pull this head back a little bit, just to give myself some extra gluing room. Whoop. Sorry, you gotta smack it sometimes. Okay, so what I'm gonna do real quick, do we have, can you hand me some paper towel? I'm gonna clean my hands off. As you can see, wet clay gets your hands, it'll dry your hands out, by the way. So after you work in wet, you might want to put some lotion, so they will really dry and crack your hands if you don't, if you work in wet for a while, like a few weeks. It just has a way of sucking all the moisture out of your hands. But I want to get my hands clean before I touch this mask. Okay, so we're going to pause for just a minute on the sculpting. We'll get back to it in a sec. We're going to get back to our artist share. Now, I have a specific mask here that I'd like to share, and the reason I have this mask is because it goes back to the story of me being a kid that I was talking about, going to the mall, seeing masks hanging. There was one specific mask, well, there were many, but there was this one that really stood out to me. Now, I finally got one after many, many years. I mean, I begged for this thing as a kid, and you know, my parents weren't going to spend 60, 70 bucks on a mask in the 80s. That was like spending 800 bucks, you know? 80 bucks in the 80s is like $800 now. So, basically, I never got it. And then, you know, years later, found out who made it and who it was and blah, blah, blah. And then these guys started making some other vintage masks from their original company. They had the mold still. And I got one. I didn't quite get it in the color I was looking for. I did tell them that I wanted the specific original color, but they just painted it flesh. But that's fine. Not complaining, but I wish it was purple gray, which is what it was originally. So Now, the company originally that made this was called Be Something Studios, and they were one of the major contenders back then. Nowadays, the company is owned by the kids, not the father anymore, and the kids of Be Something Studios turned it into Zagoni Studios, and they make a bunch of the original masks still, and they still have a lot of the original molds. They have tons of copies of molds, and they make all these masks, and they make awesome masks. In fact. And the mask that... No, I'm good. I'll just hold it. The mask that really caught my attention as a kid, and please remember, it was like a purple gray. It wasn't flesh. Was this. And it might, you might say, oh my God, that thing is so ridiculous. But it was this melting man. This weird melted face thing. For some damn reason, every year I would go see it hanging, like this, just hanging there, and it was this purple, kind of a subdued purple gray type color, and I think it had like orangey hair, not the brown. It had more orange, and anyway, it was hanging there by the register, and like right there like this, looking at me. And I just remember being like, oh my God, I have to have that, please, please, please. Anyway, turns out this mask was sculpted by the one and only, famous mask sculptor for Be Something Studios, which is BYBY. So if you ever look inside some of these Zagoni masks or the early Be Something, you'll see these letters, BYBY. Bill Bystrom is what it stands for. And Bill sculpted all these masks, a lot of them. Not all of them, but most of them. And he's had a tremendous career sculpting masks for these, for Be Something and then Zagoni. So tonight's artist share is for Bill and for Zagoni and for Be Something Studios, because really, this would be the first core inspiration on me, on my young little brain, that melted my brain at the time into thinking this was so freaking cool, and I had to have this, and I'm so stoked to have one now, obviously. But yeah, seeing and this was right out of the original molds, or some of the original molds. I mean they remade the molds obviously, but this is the mask. It's not been redone or whatever. So super cool. I love this thing, which is why I keep it bagged and hanging and cherish it. But yeah, this was one of few. I mean, there were many. There was the Fang face. You guys probably remember this mask with these big Fang teeth. Fang face was another one. And then there was some distortions masks that were, and again, at the time, my age, I didn't know these companies. I knew Don Post, but I didn't really know much about them because I'd see the tag, but I didn't really care to know who the company was. I just loved the mask and was enthralled by them. So I didn't know the sculptors and all that at that time. But later I come to find out that these big bloody gory masks were like Distortions Unlimited masks. Like Death and Death Part 2 and all these different crazy mutilated masks they did back then. So yeah, I used to see all these things hanging in the stores, the local Spencer's or the Hallmark. Hallmark was cool because they would hang them from the ceiling. So it was awesome to go into that store and just see all these masks kind of slowly turning, hanging from the ceiling, and just doing this from the air conditioner or whatever, and you're just like a little kid, just blown away. It's just like all these heads, creepy heads hanging. So that really had a huge inspiration on me and till today. So that's that. And so definitely a huge thanks. Thank you, Bill and Zagoni and Be Something. Anyway, thank you to them for everything they've done over the years, because without them I would probably not be the crazy nut person that I am now today, making masks at 47 years old. So yeah, here's to them and all the inspiration, and I know they've inspired tons and tons of mask artists out there. So yeah. So check out Be Something Studios, and you can look up old Be Something Studios on eBay. You can find collectors selling them. There's still some around.
There's actually, I found a link to it, a product page for it on Zagoni Studios' website. I linked it in the chat for everybody.
Even better than that, there's a site my buddy Pete Infelice has put together, which is all mask catalogs, all old catalogs, called the Blood Curdling Mask Catalog page or something like that. Blood Curdling something. Pete put together just all these mask companies over the years, tons of catalog pages. And they're on there. In fact, you can see this mask in the purple I'm talking about. It truly existed. And from the 70s or 80s, whatever it was, early 80s, late 70s. Anyway, Blood Curdling something or other. Blood Curdling.
See, Blood Curdling blog of monster
That's
masks.
it. Blood Curdling blog of monster masks. Go to that site and you can look up old Don Post Studios stuff. You can look up Distortions, Death Studios, Be Something Studios, Zagoni, all of them. They're all on there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a ton.
Alterian Ghost Factory.
Alterian's on there too.
Calendar Mask.
Yep.
He's got 3 of yours on there.
Yeah, he's got one of my old catalogs. So, yeah, this is the Melted Man from Be Something Studios, now Zagoni Studios, and yeah, he's awesome. I love him. He's super cool, and that's the mask that really captured me back in the day, and I wanted so badly. And then there was Fang Face and many, many others. Yes, right? Yeah, that's right. All right, so there you go. Here's to Be Something, Zagoni, and Bill Weistrom, and all the guys that make these awesome masks. You guys rule forever. Love ya. Love your mask. All right, so I'm going to put him back in his bag. And put him to the side. And then we're going to jump quickly back into some sculpting before we run out of time. So back to it.
Got some short questions.
Oh my God. You guys, I'm so sorry. I forgot. Questions. Let's do questions, and I'll keep sculpting while I answer the questions.
Sure.
Sorry, guys.
We actually got some pretty straightforward ones tonight.
Okay.
So our first question actually comes from Michael Strapek, I believe it is.
Okay.
Michael asks, where did you get that awesome Henrietta shirt?
This?
Yeah.
It's old and wearing out. This is a... Oh, I don't want to say the wrong company name. This is either... You want to look in back, Sam?
Yeah, sure.
It's either Fright Rags or Cavity Colors. I think it's Fright Rags.
It
Fright Rags?
is Evil Dead, Henrietta, Fright
Rags.
Yeah, Fright Rags.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, there's two companies making what I would say are the most awesome. Well, there's 3 companies making the most awesome. There's more, but there's 3 companies I really like that make awesome horror T-shirts. One is Fright Rags. The other is Cavity Colors, and the other is Paul Bearer Press. If you don't know any of those, definitely look all 3 of them up if you're into horror T-shirts. But this is an old Fright Rags, Fright Rags T-shirt from way back when. Maybe, every once in a while they'll come back with designs. Maybe they'll come back out with it, but it's awesome. And that is where I got it. But there's some newer ones out nowadays that are cool from Evil Dead. Evil Dead.
Our next question comes from Craig Vance.
Mm-hmm.
Craig asks, when you're sculpting, what compensation do you make for latex shrinkage?
Good question. Well, okay, so as you saw me earlier rough this out a little bit and then go a little thicker, and I should probably go even bigger than this, honestly. This may end up being a little bit of a small mask, but that's maybe okay in some ways. You have to consider that your mask is going to shrink 15 to 20% of its original size out of the first mold. So in other words, the first mold that you make, like the mold I make off this, the mask that comes out will shrink about 15 to 20%. Now, these masks won't be incredibly super thick. They're going to be designed to be worn. So they're going to be thinner, a little bit thinner, not super, super thick. And, you know, so the thicker the mask, the more it can shrink, obviously, too. So you can sometimes get away with a little bit slightly smaller mask. And if you're trying to get it to fit your head perfectly, the best recommendation I would have is to measure with a tape measure, or a, you know, like those tape measures for clothing that are, you can bend easily around your head, and measure your head circumference and measure your eye features from left to right and nose and all that. Measure everything on your face, take the notes down, and then when you sculpt your mask, go 15% larger than that, and you'll be safe to have a nice fitted wearable mask. Because if you go too small, there's nothing you could do really too much. I mean, you can. There are some little tricks, but I don't want to get into that. They involve chemicals, and they're not foolproof tricks. So it's easier to shrink a mask down than enlarge a mask. Let's just put it that way. And shrinking a mask down is easy because you could just make a second generation mold. So you can mold it, cast it, let the casting shrink, remold that casting. The next casting will shrink even further. So let's say the mask was slightly too big. So there are ways to do that. But yeah, you want to try to make it a decent size so that it can become wearable, especially if you're marketing it to the general public. So be mindful of that for sure. Okay.
All right, next question comes from Woogie. Woogie asks, what do you use for eye forms?
Let's see if I can pull some out. I just have all kinds of different things like plastic eye shapes and marbles and larger, you know, spheres and that I've collected over the years. You know, I have some fake plastic eyes and glass eyes and different things. I mean, anything that's nice and round. Now, if you want the pupil to have that proper bulge shape, then I would recommend, you know, finding a good glass eye or something like that. There's a bunch of companies that make glass eyes nowadays. You can buy really nice ones and use them in your sculpture. And then but yeah, if you don't want to do that, I mean, because some of them are not that expensive anyway, so you can, you know, buy some decent eyes. But if you don't want to do that, you could get some plastic ones that'll work just fine. You just want something smooth. Don't try to sculpt the eyes in, because I know that's a popular thing to do with sculptors, but don't do it for a mask, because what you want is when the mask is cast in latex, you want a very nice, very smooth, nice form in latex, so that when you paint the eyes, unless you're going to insert eyes, you know, that's fine, but you're not going, if you're making mass production, you're not going to insert eyes. So you want some nice smooth shapes in there to help you have a smooth eye surface to paint on. So yeah, just some spheres, you know, sphere shapes that have a nice smooth surface. Anything like that'll work. You can use just round marbles, you know, to the right size, or you can go out and get some plastic eyes or fake eyes or whatever.
All right, and our next question comes from William Salinas. William asks, did you cut off the nose to leave more room for sculpting detail? There were a couple people who were wondering, like, why is the missing its nose?
The nose is actually no. Although I do like sometimes I will sometimes cut the ears and nose off because I hate them to be in my way. But But no, the reason the nose was missing is I think my son whacked it off with a baseball bat or something else. My son basically pulled that thing off. So sometimes he likes to beat up on my styrofoam heads. You know, play ninja or whatever he's doing. I think he's Narutoing my head.
Naruto, yeah.
Or something like that. So, yeah. I'm pretty sure he is responsible for the destruction that you saw. I'm surprised it wasn't like holes everywhere. But no, I will sometimes cut the nose off because I don't like it in the way, you know. And it's fine as long as you build out far enough. You're fine. You don't have to have the nose or the ears on there. You could get rid of them. You just cut them off. You can also leave them. I mean, it's up to you. All right.
And I think, there's actually a couple more questions in the chat that have just popped up. Chris Dawson is asking, do you have any tips on preserving old latex masks? I have a really old B something Studios mask, and there's a spot under the chin that is starting to get soft and sticky.
Well, I mean, the absolute best thing for old masks and new masks, obviously, you know, the one issue with these mass-produced masks is they can rot, but there are masks still from the 80s around, you know, that a lot of these collectors have, and obviously he has one of those. And the thing about it is, the best thing you can do is just for now, I mean, just bag it and keep sunlight off of it, keep moisture off of it, all, you know, obvious things like that. If it's got, because typically what will happen is you'll get dry rotted spots and it cracks, and then, or you get cracks in the wrinkles and things will start forming that, you know, which become holes through the mask. In this case, it's getting soft. That's another sign of it starting to have problems. I mean, you could, from the inside of the mask, you could kind of clean it off with some 70% alcohol very carefully, and then you could basically put in some backing latex with some, you'd back it up with a little bit of latex and cheesecloth, which would give it some new structure so that it doesn't split and tear later. But you can't stop the process of it starting to go. I mean, you know, eventually one day it's it's gonna go, and you know, but you can slow it down by giving it that. And a lot of guys will, when the masks start to get pretty old, they'll foam fill them to preserve them, but I don't know how much of a fan I am of that, because it's another chemical you're sticking inside the mask, and I always worry it can have an effect on it. But then again, it, you know, it does help hold its shape and give it structure. So, but that's tricky, because when the mask is out of the mold like that, you have to be really careful about foam filling it correctly, you know, so it doesn't warp it. It's so easy for it to get warped and out of shape. So be careful with that idea. I would say your best bet is, like I said, cheesecloth and some latex. First, clean the mask with something not too abrasive, like 70% alcohol, and then, you know, with some cotton swabs or something, and then from there, go ahead and put a little latex layer, a few latex layers with cheesecloth, and dry, and let that dry. Don't force dry it with a hair dryer, because adding heat to that mask is just going to cause more problems than good. You know, you don't want to add any heat to it, so because the latex isn't fresh and new. So just let it naturally dry. You could put a fan on it, hair dryer instead of a hair dryer. Just put a fan to dry it, and there you go. That would be the best thing to preserve it.
Then actually, Creative Critter kind of had a similar question too, just about like what's it, preserving old masks.
Oh yeah.
Like someone was asking like if you were to keep it from rotting in storage, what's the best way to do that? It's pretty much that whole same method too, right? Bagging it.
Yeah.
Sealing it.
Just store it really well. Keep it out of sunlight. Keep it. Bag can help. Help it. Keep it out of sunlight. You can stuff it. With trash bags to hold its shape instead of foam. It's a cheaper alternative, but works well. Just black trash bags. Stuff the mask. Give it a lot of cushion, and put it on a stand that's not going to cause any tension up on top of the head. Give it a lot of cushion to sit on. Those things help to support the mask. And your new masks too. Treat them the same way. I mean, especially if you're buying an expensive mask from someone like me or another artist, or take care of it. Just same thing. Try to preserve it that way. Take good care of it.
Treat it like you would a newborn. Put it in a bag. I'm joking. Terrible joke.
No. Wait, what?
That actually does it for all of our questions today too.
Oh, really? No wed clay questions or anything? Wow.
Not that I saw.
They're all wed. They're all wed experts already.
Yeah. Somebody was saying, or somebody mentioned earlier about wed clay versus monster clay. They said, I think they said that they liked how wed clay, you're able to work with it a lot longer. It doesn't kind of dry out on you as fast as monster clay does. I think that's what they were saying. It was much. Or
probably the other way around.
Yeah, it might be the other way around.
Because monster clay doesn't dry out. Wed clay dries out. Well, I mean, they're two different animals, I mean, wed clay and monster clay. I mean, for mask sculpting, wed clay is my favorite, hands down. Nothing beats it. But monster clay is great for, and I use that all the time for smaller busts and things. I mean, a lot of guys do use it for masks. I never have used it for a mask. I'll be honest. I've never used monster clay for a mask, but it does work. Rick Baker's done it. Many guys have done it, so it works. So what I'm focusing on is mostly anatomy, by the way, just so you guys, hopefully aren't getting too bored. I'm really wanting to make sure that I take my time to get some of these forms where I want them. So hopefully this isn't boring you guys. We'll get to probably a little more of the exciting meat of the character on the next stream, where I'm sort of really finding the character that I'm looking for. But for now, it's like I want to get everything in there as nice as possible before I jump off into that. Because I gotta try and capture that facial structure that I recall. But as an older man, it's tricky because I remember what he looks like as a kid, but I never got to see him as an older man. So who knows? It's always interesting how much people change over the years. And I got to avoid it just looking like some zombie, because it's not really a zombie. It's more of like I don't know, how do you describe the boogeyman? It's not. See, that's the other thing. Like, I should probably talk about, like, the boogeyman to me is not Freddy Krueger. It's not Michael Myers. Those are called boogeymen, but it's not. Those are like slasher.
Yeah.
Too. Like boogie. Yeah. The boogeyman is like, for me, it's a. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. It's like a phantasmic monster person that, like I said, could probably morph into anything to scare the hell out of you. More along the lines of It, in a way, I guess, but not a clown, because I don't find clowns to be that scary anyway.
Yeah, it's too specific.
Yeah, it's too specific.
Yeah, I think I always associate the boogeyman with just like uneasy strangeness. Like no matter how you look at it, it's always the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And you can't make it right no matter how much you try to study it, and it's like where's something on this that looks natural, and it's like everywhere you look is wrong.
Yeah.
And then God forbid it starts moving towards you. Because even movement is probably wrong. Like it probably doesn't walk with its feet. It probably, or like its feet or its hips, it probably swings its arms weird, or it like tilts its head in a weird way, or it sways its body in a weird way, and it's like, oh Jesus.
Yeah, that's a good, very good description of what I would say I remember feeling as a kid. You know, like
it's like looking at shadows in the dark when you're in your bed. It's like, what in the world is that thing in the corner?
Yep.
If I look at it, is it gonna look directly back at me? Like, oh no.
Yeah, that's the vibe. I kind of have to capture it in this man's face. So it's not. That's why I want to definitely take my time to get the creepy vibe and the look, and so it's going to take a minute. You know, it's not going to be like bam, there it is. I've done some masks where it's like super quick and you know, and this one's kind of special to me because it's something stemming from my childhood, so I want to get it right. So right now it just looks like a man's face. It's not really much, honestly, to look at. But we'll get there. We'll get there. Has anyone shared any
there's actually
stories or what they feel the boogeyman is in their mind, or
let's see, one Eric Mortensen, they didn't share a story, but Eric Mortensen just said Slender Man, and I think Slender Man, I just responded to them, but like Slender Man I think is a much better example of something that is boogeyman-esque. Like when you're trying, if you were to say which one is more boogeyman-esque between Slender Man and Pennywise, I would say Slender Man is. It's not quite what would hit that degree that like you or I were explaining, where it's just like unusualness.
Yeah.
Just because like there's so much specificity to Slender Man, and it's like, he has the suit, so it's a little more like Pennywise, and like he looks a certain way that's not as strange, but like just like there's no real like idea of what he does or what he's about or why he's around. So I would say, yeah, he's a little more boogeyman-esque.
Yeah. Like I know that with this thing, it's going to have to slightly veer at some point. I'm going to have to slightly veer away from humanity in the face and the human vibe, and the three places that I think I can find it, the creepiness that I'm going to be looking for is going to be the eyes, how they look at you, the mouth, which isn't going to be, I know I have just lips now, but resemble lips, but that's going to go away. It's going to be something creepy with big teeth or rotted or something like that, and maybe an underbite or an overbite or I don't know what, but it's going to be some form of very creepy teeth, monstrous teeth. So eyes, teeth, and then in the skin, kind of pocky, sinewy, and some little bit of the nose. So there's going to be something in this, in the general area here that's going to develop into a character by going kind of away from just normal human anatomy, basically.
I actually have two more questions that just came in too. Let's see. One of them is from Matt Cable. Matt asks, when you dissolve the styrofoam with acetone, I think it's acetone or acetone.
Yeah.
What's a safe way to dispose of
it? Oh man. Well, the best thing to do is not go dump it in your garbage right away or anything like that. Honestly, the best thing to do is put it in a plastic bucket and let it air out outside. Let it evaporate out all that acetone and obviously so it's not flammable. Acetone's extremely flammable. So don't just go dump it in your trash can. And I hate to even share that trick with people because it is not healthy and good. It's not good for the environment. But so like honestly, what I should be telling you guys is, there are other ways to dispose of styrofoam very easily. They're just messy and not as fast. But they're way more health conscious and environmentally conscious and talk. And that's just break the damn styrofoam out of there. You can use a chisel and a hammer and just bust it out. Styrofoam's very weak. You can just, I've even raked it out with sculpting tools, but you can just break it out of there if you just want to be more mindful of the environment and health and all that. I know it's a little more work. It's messy as hell and shit goes flying everywhere, but it is really better for you too. That trick I discovered when I was very much younger, in my 20s, and I'm not gonna lie, there's a few times I was in my garage like, woo, awesome, it's alien, but very stupid to be in a closed garage doing that. Nowadays I go outside and do it, but yeah, put it in a bucket, let it air out because it'll just harden up into a plastic. Because basically what you're making is basically a form of napalm. It's not good, man. So my best recommendation is break the styrofoam out instead. And then if you have to melt a little bit away with acetone, that's, just do a little bit because it only takes a tiny bit of acetone to melt it. But yeah, try to not do it too much, and be very health conscious. Breathing those fumes is extremely toxic for your health and safety. So be safe, guys. Don't think that those fumes are definitely not good. So just be very careful. I don't want to be the guy that shares that and then everybody's like,
I'll go do it. It's easy.
Yeah,
oh, no.
or people just, because people do just, as much as they want to say they're being safe, they'll just go do it in the garage and breathe that crap, and it's like, dude, don't do that. You're asking for it. It's not worth it just to get a stupid mask out. So no mask is worth your health. So anyway, yeah, where are we at? Okay, so we are at 8. Is it 8:11?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to go just a couple more minutes here, guys, just to try to get a little further, and then we're going to call it a night. So if you have any last minute questions on clay or anything like that, or some of the techniques, let me know. I didn't get a chance to go over tools. Some of the early tools you'll see me use next Monday when we continue this sculpture. I'll share with you now as my dog barks. This is a really awesome, brilliant tool here. This is called a kidney tool, and it's flexible metal here. And you'll notice this is not the way they come from the manufacturer. They come with very sharp teeth. I've grinded them away so that it's just very blunt teeth. And this is like one of the first tools I'll pretty much use once I'm not ready. I'm just going to demonstrate quickly how this works. But this is great for like cleaning up all the really roughed out forms and getting like, because you'll immediately see like where dents and things are, and you can fill them in and just quickly get some of your forms cleaned up. So that's one of the first ones. I love this little wood tool. It's a spoon on one side. I can kind of get in areas, and then the other side is like a soft wooden rake, and this is great just for like raking, forms and things like that. It's really handy getting into areas, even carving some first minute wrinkles and things, you know. So this is a great tool. You'll see me use more of that next time. And then, of course, the almighty famous wire wrap rake, which was a famous tool by many effects artists, including Rob Bottin, Rick Baker, and others, where it's got these wires wrapped around this other wire, and you can actually rake with it like this, and you can dig in and get, you know, push your wrinkles deeper and then rake it this way just to soften it, things like that. So it's really super handy getting into places. It's got this point and then a big wide area here, so it's got a lot of uses. We'll share more about that. And then another real handy one that I use a lot is this big huge rake here, which is great for rounding out your forms and cleaning things up further and blah blah blah. Found a little rock in there. So yeah, so this is a great one, and we'll get more into that one next time too, but just showing you a quick demonstration of how these tools work. And those are kind of just, other than my hands right now, your hands are the most important tool, you know, that you've got, and that's why you'll see me stick to my hands for most of this until I find the character. And every once in a while I'll pick up a tool here and there, but I don't rely on the tools yet. I wait until I'm much further along in the process before I start grabbing tools.
Are those the same tools that you would use on Monster Clay as well? Kind of
yes, you can. Yeah, absolutely, you can use them on Monster Clay. And those are just my favorites. I mean, there's many others I'll be sharing, by the way. There's more tools I'll be sharing that I'm not sharing yet on this. Those are just my early, like, go-to tools for mask making. The first sort of tools I use. But there's many more that I'll share once we get there.
All right, if you want, we can do some last-minute roundups of some of the things that people are working on right now.
Sure.
Or have finished up.
Sure, let's do it.
So Unknown Origin FX mentioned they just finished a commission of Shin from an anime called Dorohedoro, which that's one I'm like vaguely aware of. It's one that my friends watch a lot.
Okay.
From what I've seen, those characters, it's really strange. It's an anime.
Yeah.
But the character designs are intense. Like the women are built like the buffest kind of Amazonian warriors ever, but they have like the demeanor, at least like when they don't have their masks on, they have like the demeanor of like just like regular people, or like they're a little timid, or just that's the impression I get. I haven't watched any episodes yet, but it looks
sounds
really
interesting.
Yeah.
I'm sure my son knows about it if it's anime.
Yeah, he probably knows of it. You know?
Yeah.
And then Britt Martin mentioned that while the stream is actually going, they've been sketching for a painting that they're going to be working on.
Oh, cool! Awesome. What's the painting? Did they say or no?
I don't know. They didn't actually say. Britt, if you're still in the chat, let us know. What are you sketching? Like what's your painting going to be of? And also too, Unknown Origin, let us know what kind of commission was Shin. I know. What is it? You mentioned that you finished the commission, but I don't know if you mentioned what it actually was.
Yeah. Curious.
And then Travis, I think I wrote down Meton. I hope I did.
My brain, like, as soon as I hear Shin, my brain can't help but go to Shin Godzilla.
Yeah, Shin Godzilla.
So, but it's what I'm understanding. It's not that, right?
Yeah. No, it's
something totally different.
Different. Yeah. Travis Meton mentioned. I think the Toothy Mutant that they're working on is your Toothy Mutant.
My Toothy Mutant?
I don't know. They said they're working on the Toothy Mutant.
Maybe like it's a little mini bust I did. This mutant thing with these teeth, I think. Maybe. That might be what he's talking about.
He said Toothy Mutant, and I'm like, is it the same one that you painted? Oh my God.
It's probably the I did this little mini bust with all these weird teeth, and it's like a little mutant thing. I think that's what he's talking about.
Maybe.
If it's mine, anyway, yeah.
And then Mad Makes mentioned that they're working on, what is it? Rick Baker's alien maquette, or working on a Rick Baker alien maquette design from the movie Night Skies.
Oh, awesome.
Unreleased Steven Spielberg movie?
Well, it was E.T. originally,
and
right. It was like a scary version of E.T. because E.T. originally was going to be a scary movie that Spielberg was going to do, and before it became a childhood or a children's film, it was this scary story about these aliens, and the aliens were more scary looking, and Rick Baker designed them all, and then the whole idea and everything just changed Spielberg and all that, and became what it is now. But yeah, the original story was called Night Skies, and the aliens were like creepier. They were. We shared it like when we did Rick's when we shared Rick as a guest artist share his books. I think I showed some Night Skies designs in there. Yeah, I think we went past that page. So I forget what episode that was that we did that. Cool. That's awesome to hear.
Oh, and Britt actually mentioned in the chat the sketch that they're working on for their painting is A Witch in the Woods, Skulls, Magic. So far, it sounds like they're still kind of working through, like, what's it going to be?
Nice.
And
something
then,
Halloween feeling. Yeah. Halloween-esque, yeah.
And then Unknown Origin also got back to us. They mentioned that the commission was a full head mask that looks like a human heart. And I now remember which character Shin is. It's this character right here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's cool. I like all the ventricles and stuff. That's neat.
That one right there. I don't know if you guys can see it.
Oh, nice. Yeah, and then share it. That's cool.
Hopefully they see. Yeah.
Super cool. Neat.
Yeah, and then that's pretty much what we got for tonight.
Awesome. Well, I think I'm pretty happy with what I've got so far. I mean, keep in mind, this is going to be a developing thing, a developing mask. So tonight's goal is to just get the roughed out clay. I mean, 2 hours is could have hauled ass and got more done, but I didn't want to rush this. So tonight is just about getting some clay on there, getting the forms in, some basic human forms, and then we'll find what I'd like to do is focus next Monday on finding the character. Plus, it gives me some time to rework my Photoshop of it and find Eddie even better and how I imagine him. So. But yeah, that's going to be it for tonight, guys. We want to thank you so much for hanging with us tonight on your Monday night. I know you got options to do other things, but we appreciate you guys hanging with us and telling us what you're working on, asking questions, sharing stuff. And we will continue this mass sculpture of Eddie next week. And until then, we will see you guys. Have a good Monday night. And remember, please, which I know we have to say this all the time, please like and subscribe our channel. Help us out. It helps us out a lot. If you have a lot of people don't subscribe to YouTube channels, but it really helps if you do subscribe and like the content, and it gets us a little more exposure and helps YouTube people find us on YouTube and build our audience, which is great. So that's what we want to do. And we will bring more content to you next Monday on sculpting with wet clay and making a mask. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed tonight. If you have any other questions, leave them in the comments below. That's a good spot. And if you are not familiar, we have a Monday Night Monster Jam on Facebook page. You can go there and join the Facebook group, Monday Night Monster Jam. We have a ton of people over there sharing awesome work all the time, and it's another good source to ask questions, share your work, hang out during the week while we're not doing Monday Night Monster Jam. And what else? Oh, don't forget, if you're looking for a class on how to paint latex masks, monster masks, I am having one coming up October. Perfect time for Halloween. October 22nd. I have a class coming up. You can sign up at caseylovemonsters.com, in-person class page. Click the sign up link and get yourself signed up I only have a few spots left. I think 5. So hurry up. Get yourself a free set of paints and a free awesome mask to paint with me here at my studio. A lot of fun. All right. So we will see you next Monday. Thank you. Thanks, Sam. Appreciate all your hard work.
No problem.
And we'll catch you guys next time. Enjoy the rest of your Monday night. Peace.
Peace.